We're live. Here's a great idea for the UFC and Bellator. One of the most anticipated rematches, at least in my book, is, again, Rory MacDonald versus Tyrone Woodley. Rory MacDonald is one of, three people that have actually beaten Tyrone Woodley. And I personally feel like if that match were to happen, cross promotion obviously, you'd have a blockbuster hit depending on what the co-main event is. That match to me is one that should happen, mainly because Rory MacDonald is the new welterweight champion of Bellator, and Tyrone has been the welterweight champion of the UFC. And Tyrone and Rory have a score to settle, at least in Tyrone's book. Because, well, when they had their encounter, if I'm not mistaken, Rory MacDonald beat Tyrone Woodley. Now, for various reasons, including the fact that the UFC is top dog and wants to remain top dog forever, but that usually never lasts. For example, Pride fell, and then Ryzen, the shoot-off from Pride, never really made it into the eyes of Pride fans the way the UFC did. Now, the reason why I want this fight to happen is because after every fight, usually one of two things happens. The fighter either evolves or just deteriorates. A good example of this is when Daniel Cormier said that fighters, when they fight great fighters, they usually get the rub. Most MMA fans would agree. I think Tyrone has gotten better over the years. Each fight he evolves to become a better fighter. So has Rory MacDonald. And some might even argue that Rory MacDonald has faced tougher competition, e.g. his last fight against, I think it was Douglas Lima. Douglas Lima lit him up. And yeah, man, that would be a great fight for both promotions. More so Bellator to get it into the spotlight that UFC has. But sadly, I don't think that'll ever happen unless one of those fighters moves back to the UFC or to Bellator. Either way, it's a hell of an idea for UFC's top brass to consider. I doubt Bellator would have a problem implementing that fight because, well, they both benefit. Bellator more than UFC though. Think of it as a grudge match, a contest of champions, so to speak. Just to prove who has the better talent level within the sport of MMA. This could do wonders for the sport of MMA. Why? I personally believe that Tyrone Woodley is easily one of the top three athletes in MMA. And Rory MacDonald, as a technician, is right up there with him. And I think this fight, if promoted correctly, could catapult both stars into superstardom, into a household name, seconded only by Conor McGregor and the likes of Floyd Mayweather. But again, I highly doubt the UFC would ever cross-promote with anybody, because, well, the UFC suffered from the same problem when they weren't so hot, when Pride was number one. Another ticket that the UFC seems to miss all day, every day, is the power of the celebrity. Why they don't get celebrities to endorse the UFC more, I don't know. I mean, Snoop Dogg is a huge MMA fan. The Rock is a huge MMA fan. These are household names in America and globally. I just don't understand why the UFC keeps misfiring at every single direction. Why is it that they don't see the goal that's right in front of them? Is it Dana's ego, as Ben Askren said? Or is it just old people not getting with the times? Like, comment, subscribe, and I am out, ladies and gentlemen.